Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan, a podcast for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable creative product business with me, Catherine Erdley. The Resilient Retail Game Plan is a podcast dedicated to one thing, breaking down the concepts and tools that I've gathered from 20 years in the retail industry and showing you how you can use them in your business. This is the real nuts and bolts of running a successful product business, broken down in an easy, accessible way. This is not a podcast about learning how to make your business look good. It's the tools and techniques that will make you and your business feel good. Confidently plan, launch and manage your products, and feel in control of your sales numbers and cash flow to help you build a resilient retail business. Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan. I'm your host, Catherine Erdley, as well as the founder of the Resilient Retail Club, which is my membership group and consultancy for product businesses. You can find out more at resilientretailclub.com. And if you use the code 10podcast, that's 10podcast, you can get £10 off your first month. Today, I am joined by Narada McKoy, who is a digital marketing expert. I am welcoming Narada back to the podcast. He was on here about this time last year, and he's going to share everything that he's learned over the last year in his nearly 14 years of experience in the advertising space, all about what's going on with digital advertising. Hi, Narada. Thank you for joining me again on the podcast. Do you want to start off by introducing yourself?
Thank you for having me, Catherine. I appreciate the opportunity to be here again. I think I was here about this time last year.
Yeah, I think so.
On the pod. To reintroduce myself, I'm Narada, the founder of Bravada on-demand marketing. We're a advertising agency that helps startups, small businesses, and some larger businesses with their growth. We're focused on paid ads and data. A way to think about us is an extension of your team. We are kind of at the cutting edge of everything paid ads related, data related, and growth related. And yeah, we're coming up to 5 years in March. So
Wow.
Yeah, we've been doing this a little while now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've got a long background in digital marketing as well, even before running your own business, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so Amazon, I used to run a team at Adidas as well. And I started at one of the larger media agencies, Zenith Optimedia. But yeah, kind of seen every side of it, like from client side to agency side to big businesses to startups as well. So it kind of helps bring a different perspective.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's fair to say then, ads over the last couple of years, there have been quite a lot of changes. So from your perspective as an industry expert with a deep history in the industry, what have you seen over the last couple of years? How would you sum it up, if you can sum it up?
I'd probably sum it up as a bit of a nightmare.
Love the honesty.
You've got to be honest. So I've worked in advertising for like 13, 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
Since working in digital, I feel like the last 2 or 3 years have seen some of the biggest changes and the most rapid changes since I've been working in the industry. There's a few things at play. The one that most people know about will be the privacy piece.
Mm-hmm.
iOS 14, 15, where iPhone and Facebook basically aren't happy with each other. So it's hard to track data the way you used to. A lot of people have seen this through the impact on their Facebook ads, the ability to drive high return on ad spend. But this is something that's bleeding over to the other platforms as well. So there's a lot of talk from Google when they've pushed this back actually about a cookieless future where they're looking to remove your typical tracking cookie from websites. So a lot of it is relying on trying to get first party data, which is data you have on your CRM. And a lot of it is about connecting up your front end being, say, your cookies and your pixels with that back end CRM piece. So that's one of the biggest changes we've seen. From a product perspective, we've seen quite a lot of changes. Google have been releasing a number of different products. When we last spoke, I think I was talking about shopping ads and search ads. Shopping ads are no longer a thing.
Oh.
There's a new thing called Performance Max. It's got a nice, sexy name, but it's just a Google product. But it amalgamates a lot of the other products that were in Google into one. So there's something called a local ad, which helps drive footfall if you've got local stores. It's a display ad, which is just typical display where you might retarget customers. It's a shopping ad, and it's a discovery ad, which you see on the Google app. And it amalgamates all of these to create your Performance Max ad, which is in effect a shopping ad. The plus of it is you get loads of reach because you're across all these different platforms. The negative is there's less visibility. And that's one common theme we're seeing throughout advertising across all of our partners. That visibility is not the same.
Sorry, do you mean visibility as in what you can see from your end, or what the customer's seeing? Like it's not being seen as many people, or there's less visibility for you as to what's working or not working?
Yeah, that's a good clarification. It's on our end in terms of what we can see is working and what's not working. So we can see which creative is best, so which image is best. We can see which, say, asset being collection of words or phrases are best, but we can't see necessarily what product's been purchased as a result. We can't see which demographics. So a lot of that data we once were able to mine from ads, we're starting to lose. And I think some of that is Google wanting to reduce their burden, their data burden, because these big companies are getting sued all the time and they don't want to handle as much data and process as much as they used to.
Got you. And also, do you think it's, as you say, getting us ready for this cookieless future?
Yeah, exactly. It's getting us ready for that, getting us ready for advertising. I think it's like broad stroke advertising. It's not, you can't have that same minutiae of detail we had once upon a time. I don't think it's diminished the effectiveness of ads. I wouldn't tell people to stop running ads because the products have changed, because the environment's changed. The main reason is people are still spending so much time on their phones. And paid advertising is just a way of buying attention. And people are spending hours and hours a day on their phone, whether it's on Google, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And the way for us to buy their attention is through ads. Whether the buying system's changed, whether the tracked return on ad spend's changed, it's still the same customer. So we have to be present in that journey. So that won't change no matter what changes.
Fascinating sort of insight. Thank you for that. And also, it feels to me, and I could be wrong, but does it feel to you as if there's all these new products coming out because the platforms, I mean, basically they make money off ads. So they're sort of trying everything that they can to make it work. Does that sound about right?
It does. It's like one hand shaking the other, because at the end of the day, these platforms have a vested interest for us to see results quickly, because then you invest more money into it. So they're trying new ways of building their ads or building their ad platform so it's easier for someone to build themselves. So they haven't got to work with, say, an agency, for example. It's easier for someone to see results earlier so that they invest more money. So that is definitely one part of it. Because I worked on that side of things when I was at Amazon. I was in the advertising department, so we kind of knew what it was like to bring a new product to market and sell it to customers as well. So that's definitely a key part of it.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering if this whole idea about being able to attribute the results of your ads is so fascinating, because if you think back to like billboard advertising or TV advertising or newspaper print advertising, that was always the thing with those, wasn't it? They were effective. They were always part of a brand's advertising strategy, but you couldn't ever pinpoint. I mean, maybe if you use certain codes or things like that, but certainly not in like the 1950s or something like that. You know, you couldn't ever quantify how many people were buying because they saw it, or it was much harder to say, oh, you saw that billboard on that building and therefore that's why you made this purchase. It was always advertising as part of an overall funnel, for want of a better word, or strategy, or gaining awareness. So you think about tube advertising, you put a big ad up in the tube and you know thousands of people are going to see it, but you can't pinpoint it in the same way that you can you could, I should say, with a digital ad, where you could literally say, right, well, that person saw this ad on this time and they made this purchase. I see what you're saying about now that they're almost taking away, or we're moving towards less tracking, less visibility. It's not going to change the effectiveness in a way. It's just going to change the ability to understand how effective it's being.
I'd say so. I'd say I couldn't put it there myself. It's the ability to understand with great granularity how things are performing is going to dissipate. It's not going away, but one thing we use is like blended return on ad spend or marketing efficiency ratio, which looks at all sales divided by how much you're spending on ads. Because then you can look at, was there a peak here? Was there a trough here? Was there a relationship between each of these different types of execution? But yeah, definitely. Even when I started my career, we were focusing on print, out of home, experiential. We weren't tracking that, but it was definitely still part of the media plan. So I wouldn't tell people, and a lot of people just turn off ads or take all their money out of ads because they see low return on ad spend, which I understand that if it's not efficient, you shouldn't put too much money into it. But the game is getting traffic to your website. The game is getting as many people to see your product as they can and seeing if they can convert. So those rules haven't changed and they never will.
Sure, got you. So is it fair to say then that people, do you think, are taking a broader approach to advertising? So you talked about, for example, looking at total ad spend and marketing efficiency and things like that. So are you seeing people maybe using multiple platforms in tandem? So they might be using Google and Facebook and other platforms all at the same time, as opposed to maybe previously they were simply doing Facebook ads, which may have been across Facebook and Instagram.
Definitely. I think people should have been doing that before. I think people got away with it because there was a period and a swell in the market where you could kind of get away with it. You could just do one channel and be fine. But yeah, definitely we advise this and we're seeing it more often. So top of your funnel, you've got TikTok and Facebook stroke Instagram. At your top of the funnel, that's getting, your storytelling, telling people about the brand. People who've never seen the brand, completely cold. You still need to focus there, but in the consideration and purchase phase, you still need that spend on the other channels. So we spend on Google, sometimes Pinterest as well, Bing, on some occasions, small percentages, but that kind of does the job of helping the research phase, because especially with smaller businesses, SEO is the last thing most people think about. So a good shortcut to having SEO is having that kind of minimum viable search ads, which is your brand terms similar to the product that you sell, terms maybe similar to your competitors. So it's kind of a catch-all strategy, which means you get people coming in the top of your Facebook, your TikTok, your Instagram, and then you make sure not only your website does the job, but Google does its job by spending some sort of budget on search as well. So that's a good way to kind of cover yourself in this changing time.
So that's very interesting, because that was going to be one of my questions, was about the different points in the funnel. Because I know at one point when there was more access to retargeting, for example, it would be about, you would have one Instagram ad that was your top of funnel, and then you'd retarget the people who reacted to that, and then retarget them, which obviously any time that you're sort of taking away visibility as to who's reacted to what, you're also losing that ability to retarget. So you're almost talking about that it then becomes, we're still thinking about a funnel, we're still thinking about different parts of that buyer's journey, but we're talking about maybe slightly different ways that people would, different advertising for different parts of that journey, rather than the same advertising to the same people. Sorry, the same platform, but different adverts to the same people once they'd reacted to certain things.
Exactly. It's covering both bases, is making sure you've got that full funnel strategy on each of your platforms, but not being too, I guess one thing we've learned over the last couple of years is don't be too precious about the rigidity of your structure, like using loads of exclusions, making sure if someone's seen this ad, they can't see that ad. Facebook doesn't like that anymore. It's a much broader stroke approach. It's like you're prospecting audiences, you're retargeting audiences. Yes, you should still test and learn and use different types of interests. We work quite closely with Meta, and this is what we're getting from them as well. Like they're suggesting don't use exclusions, make sure you're keeping things broad, and kind of use that approach.
Got it. Okay, all right. On to TikTok then, because obviously this is one of the newest ad platforms, and there's a lot of buzz around TikTok at the moment. So you've been running TikTok ads for several different clients. Like, what are you seeing in terms of TikTok?
What am I seeing with TikTok? I'll start with some context.
Okay.
On the TikTok side, when you say TikTok, most people think kids. I think people have graduated past the thinking it's kids dancing. It's not really that anymore.
Yeah.
But people still do think it skews really young, when in fact, 25 to 34 is the largest growing demographic age group in TikTok. Over 50% of customers are between the age of 20 and 40 on TikTok as well.
Okay.
A lot of people are making buying decisions with TikTok as well. I've seen a graph recently, and I can attest to this with some of my staff. People are going to TikTok before Instagram now, especially Gen Z. And in the next 5 years, that trend will continue. TikTok being the first social media port of call people use. And although Gen Z, you might say it's young now, a lot of these people are going to be in 3 or 4 years, nearly 30. So
wow.
it's...
That's crazy to think that. Well, yeah, okay.
But they're right in that e-commerce sweet spot soon, aren't they, really,
Yeah.
as a customer base. So it's about getting on this platform early. That's a bit on why TikTok's important. In terms of the ad platform itself, it's very different to Facebook. That's one thing we've learned throughout the last, so we've been running TikTok ads for over a year now, maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
You can't just copy and paste your strategy. A few reasons behind that. One is the quality of technology in TikTok isn't there from an ad platform perspective. I think one thing to note with Facebook ads is they've been around for over 10 years and they contribute to, like, you might have to correct me on this one, but it's like 95% of the revenue Facebook make is from ads.
I believe it. It.
Because we're just throwing the money, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, also, where else do they make money? You know what I mean? It's like, that is their money-making mechanism, right?
It is. And they've made this behemoth, like this £1 billion corporation with the top developers, the top data scientists and everything. And I took it for granted once I moved to TikTok, because I was like, oh, this pixel doesn't automatically know everything about my customers. It can't, like, get purchases straight away. So that's one thing to know. The platform is quite nascent. So you can't just set your ad up, be like, all right, here's my URL, here's my creative, go get me some purchases. I've got a nice creative. That's not going to happen. Even with the most established brands, it doesn't work. Like, we see the ROAS on TikTok it's more comparable to like YouTube, because it's primarily an entertainment platform. People are on there to be entertained versus sold to. People are so used to seeing ads on Instagram, they don't actually mind being sold to as much. Like every 5 posts, I'm going to get an ad, so maybe one will be relevant. Whilst with TikTok, the customer behavior is quite different in that respect. So from a creative perspective, you have to be much more nascent and more organic with the way that you run your ads and the creative you use. So it's got to look like a TikTok video. If you spend some time on TikTok looking at the ads, it's very hard to tell what's an ad and what's organic, because the focus is UGC. You can't have anything polished. It will just get found out immediately. It just won't get any interactions. Like, we've tried it with loads of clients. We've tried to fudge it and do different, like, oh, let's use our Instagram e-com imagery. It just doesn't work.
Got it. It's got to be really, truly entertainment. Or what's the, like, that cross. I know when I've done pieces for Forbes and things on TikTok, then the kind of the commentary always comes back that this is like where entertainment and commerce is meeting. It's like people want to be entertained and then they'll buy. I mean, this isn't actually about advertising on TikTok, but just this is something that I think about TikTok, and I'd love to know your thoughts, having spent, as you said, a year running ads on there and seeing how people react to it and getting people to buy. Is that, TikTok is sort of being hailed at the moment. There's lots of not, as I said, lots of buzz about it. Organic reach is still really good compared to Instagram overall. But I do slightly worry for small businesses because of that heavy entertainment element, that you don't want it to be one of those things where people spend all this time creating this very entertaining content, but at the end of the day, what you want people to do is buy. So even if you're getting the reach, is it one of those things where you can get the reach on TikTok, but actually getting people to make a purchase from it is harder?
I think so. I think I've seen that. But TikTok have realized this too. And there's 2 new products that we've started using with TikTok. One is the TikTok shop.
Yeah.
Which
they're really pushing, aren't they?
They're really pushing TikTok shop.
Yeah.
So, like, in your ad, you'll be able to purchase without leaving TikTok. If it's on your organic, there'll be like an opportunity for you to purchase. You don't leave the whole experience, which is kind of helping with those drop-off rates. People don't want to leave it. It's a very full screen experience. It's very purpose built to keep you in the app for a long time. Another piece is TikTok lives. I don't know how many TikTok lives you've watched, but they're often people selling, well, they're not always people selling sweets. Maybe that's just the niche I fell into. But
it's, do you know what? Elizabeth Stiles and I always have this conversation about this like pick and mix shop. In fact, we did a talk last year on live selling because it's a fascinating, like I did a piece for Forbes a couple of months ago about TikTok live selling. I find the whole thing absolutely fascinating. But you do have to look quite hard to find the people who aren't selling sweets. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, it's weird.
There was actually loads of applications, and I remember somebody that I interviewed who sold modest fashion. She was talking about how she made £50,000 of sales in 2 hours on TikTok Shop, on TikTok Live rather. So yeah, like that is crazy. So yeah, there's definitely sales to be made. That's a good
really
point.
Is.
Yes, because of course TikTok, you're right. TikTok know that yes, it's great to get reach, but unless businesses see sales from a platform, they're not going to invest in the ad spend, right?
They're not. And yeah, you're right. Yeah, I've heard silly numbers from TikTok Live as well. Like some of the advice we give with TikTok Live, you've got to fool their algorithm a bit. You've got to try and get sales right at the beginning of your live. So do like flash discounts. TikTok's an interesting one for certain brands. Like I know that loads of premium brands are on TikTok, and I know not so premium brands are as well. Discounting is a heavy part of it. You've got to have a hook with TikTok that gets people in. Which is quite different to, say, Facebook, Instagram, Google. And the live itself's got to be entertaining. It's got to be. I think it's always good if it's the founder, but if it's not the founder, it's got to be your archetypal customer. If it's clothes, trying on different things. If it's skincare, trying on different routines.
Different products.
Different products. Yeah. Like it's got to show everything in its real form. Always think about the time you do the live as well. I would say out of working hours, but people are on their phones the whole time, so it doesn't matter. But as long as it's like not the middle of the night.
Yeah. Well, someone's up probably watching TikTok in the middle of the night.
Someone's up. But I think the point you made was really good around it's not being careful, but it's all of these things are a big time investment. I haven't found, and I'm looking for it, there's no shortcuts on TikTok yet anyway. Like, your content has to be on point. Yeah. Your lives, if you're doing lives, they have to be done strategically, with the right type of product, the right price point, the right customer. You've got to know TikTok, and you've got to do a lot of testing. Like, you can't, for example, if we talk about some of the detailed parts of the advertising, you can't start a campaign with a purchase conversion goal. You have to start with a view content, because the pixel is not as smart as a Facebook pixel. It needs 50 purchases a week. 50 view contents a week, which is someone seeing your ad and then clicking off to view the content on the website for it to leave the learning phase. And after that, you move down to like add to cart, then you move down to initiate checkout, then purchase. You can't skip steps just because the pixel just doesn't know how to find that customer yet. Because if you look at TikTok, they've grown so much in 3 years. The first 2 years of their focus was just get new customers. Now they're focusing on monetizing those customers. They're still like 10 years behind Facebook. So you still got to think, you've got to take those extra steps to get the results you want. Because I think if we were talking about Facebook ads 8 years ago, people wouldn't say they're really easy to use.
It's a growing platform, so with all the benefits of that. But equally, the technology is less sophisticated than some other ad platforms.
Yeah, I think it should be part of everyone's media plan. You could just about get away with ignoring it in 2022, not in 23. No way.
I guess it begs the question, and again, this is probably slightly off the topic of ads, but I'd just be curious to hear what you think, is that sometimes I do think to myself, with the way that it's going with Instagram Reels as well and TikTok, it's really heavily leaning on that entertainment content that we were talking about. If you're a business owner who's really, really not into being on video, like you say, maybe in 2022 that worked, but in 2023, do you feel like you've just got to find a way to make it work, even if it's not you, the face of the business, it's like somebody who was making that content for you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure you must have this conversation with founders as well.
I do. And it's if you don't want to be in it, and to be fair, I fully understand it. I'm behind the scenes, it's a service business. So I can tell people this all day. I'm like, oh, get on camera. You'll never see me on camera. But if it's not you, it's got to be your archetype of customer, like a friend, a power user, someone who's bought 5 things from you. Like, and it hasn't got to be difficult. It can be just a few like different looks, how you style certain things. And the more normal and user generated it is, the better. Like, you don't need to do a million takes. It's like 20 minutes of work to get 5 good pieces of content now, which is a good thing. It's once upon a time, people, you had to get your studio, you had to get your content, e-com shots, all that stuff. It's kind of democratized now, isn't it?
Yeah. The only thing that is not the technology, it's the desire to do it. And I quite like it. I quite enjoy being on camera and coming up with whatever ideas I come up with for my Instagram reels. But I recognise that I'm fortunate that that's something that I enjoy, and it is a conversation I've had with lots of people about this. It's almost to the point now you kind of have to say, well, these are the rules of the game. You just have to work out how you can play it for you, which isn't going to be, soul destroying if it's really something that you just can't bring, you just don't want to do.
Yeah, you can't. It's too hard to be. If you're a small business, you can't be faceless, can you? Because people are buying into you.
Yeah, buying into it, the idea of it being a small business. Anyway, bringing it back to ads. Sorry, I kind of wandered off, but it's just fascinating because it's, as you said, like these platforms, and we are still learning so much about them, and they are new. So it's just really interesting to hear your perspective. But let's wrap this up because I feel like we could talk all day on this fascinating subject. But just if someone's listening to the podcast and they maybe have thought about advertising and they don't know where to start, or maybe they were running ads and, like you say, they were running ads, but then they pulled out because it didn't seem like it was working, and so therefore they stopped. What advice would you give? You could give sort of one top tip, or what are your thoughts about people who are in that position, don't know where to start, or maybe you started but then stopped?
I'd say have faith, dip your toe back in, especially in Q4. If it's a cash burn thing, start with the low-hanging fruit. So just retarget all of your customers who've been on the website in the last 180 days with an ad. Retarget anyone who's been on your Instagram for the last year, create those 2 audiences, put a bit of budget behind that. You'll start seeing results quickly, which will help build your confidence. That's the first bit. If it's like Instagram, I think quite broadly, if you've taken like six months, a year of ads because you won't see the results you were seeing before, think about it in a broader way, like target broader customers, think about it as an awareness driver. And then finally, don't obsess over the return on ad spend day to day. Look at your big number, look at the number you're seeing in Shopify, wherever you look at your big number, and start working out, is this worthwhile based on what I'm seeing there? Is there more traffic coming to my website? Is the traffic converting? Where are people not converting? Think about it holistically, because ads are never going to solve all your business problems. I always say that. Like, they make you more of what you already are. They'll make a good month really good. They might make a bad month okay, but they don't flip things on its head. Like, it's never going to completely, double your business. It will just supercharges things that are already doing well. So you send a really good email, for example, if you've got that retargeting pixel on, you're going to hit those customers again. They're more likely to purchase. So I'd say if you're trying to get back into it, start small. Start with the ones that you know will work, all the retargeting ones. Test out just brand terms, so your own brand's terms, or broad terms on Google. And start there, then build up to like more awareness from there. But stick at it, because the one thing people do is they do a week or 2 weeks and they're like, I'm not seeing results, turn it off. You've gone back into the learning phase. That's an easy way to spend a lot of money on ads, by turning it on, turning it off, then next month being like, let me turn it on again, turn it off. It's better to have it on a low cost for a longer period of time than keep turning it on and off, because then the algorithms all out of work.
Right. The algorithm's like, what on earth's happening here?
Exactly.
Okay, and if they would like the help of an expert to help them with their digital advertising, how can they get in touch with you?
Third way to get in touch is to email me. It'll be in the show notes, Narada at bravada-uk.com. Leave something on the website. There's a place where you can leave your contact details there. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Narada McKoy. Anyway, you're going to find me. If you find me, I'll respond.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Why not come over to @Resilient Retail Club on Instagram and share a picture of where you are when you're listening to the podcast. If you have a moment to rate and review the podcast, either in iTunes you can rate and review, or in the Spotify app you can rate the podcast, then that would be amazing, and it makes such a difference in terms of getting the podcast out to more people. And of course, if you subscribe or follow, you will be the first to know about each new episode. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then I invite you to check out resilientretailclub.com. The Resilient Retail Club is the membership for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable product business. No more trawling Google trying to find the answers to your questions, or wading through general business advice that speaks mainly to service-based businesses. Whether you're still at the idea stage or you've been going for a while but want to get more focused and organised when it comes to your business, the Resilient Retail Club is the place for you. With a library of courses tailored to creative product businesses, several live sessions a month, and a supportive and active community, the Resilient Retail Club is the perfect membership to help you hit your goals faster. Check it out at resilientretailclub.com.